Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Evgen Formentera, and we're gonna talk about Unit 11, Data Collection, Lesson 2, Designing a Survey. Introduction. We know about the features and structure of surveys, but we must also know how to effectively design a questionnaire. It is not enough that we are aware of what a survey is and what types of questions can be used. We also had to know how to effectively design and plan a questionnaire. How do we design a questionnaire? What are the qualities of a good questionnaire? Objectives in this lesson, you should be able to do the following. Identify the qualities of a good survey questionnaire. Design a survey questionnaire. Qualities of a good questionnaire. A good questionnaire should be valid, reliable, clear, interesting, and succinct. Valid. A valid questionnaire should ask for precisely what it intends to learn. In other words, the questions should be written in a way that the respondent will understand what the objectives of the question is to do this. The questionnaire should be reviewed by an expert on the topic during a pilot test. For example, if the target respondent is a person with disability (PWD), then you should check with a PWD if the questions make sense and are understandable. Any clarification should be made until the question is clearly understood. Reliable. A reliable questionnaire should yield generally the same answer if the same question is repeatedly posed to the same respondent within a short amount of time. This can be achieved by performing retest, meaning you administer the same questionnaire to a respondent more than once and check the consistency of his or her answers. If there are any discrepancies in the answers, it could be because the questions are unclear or the instructions are vague. If so, this should be reviewed and revised. Interesting. An interesting questionnaire is more likely to be complete by the respondent, thus providing a higher response rate. This means that the researcher should put some thought into making sure that the questions are relevant to the respondents and are arranged in a logical sequence. Succinct. A succinct questionnaire asks questions that are straight to the point and only answer the research objectives. Any questions that are beyond the scope of the research should be included. Some researchers tend to cast the net wider by asking more questions so that they can collect more data, regardless of whether the data is directly relevant to their research or not. However, this usually happens when the researcher has not yet properly fleshed out his or her objectives. Be careful in this case because it runs the risk of asking too many questions and the questionnaire becomes too lengthy and difficult to complete. Essential question. How can the qualities of a good questionnaire be demonstrated? Dependent and independent factors. As I mentioned in the previous lesson, setting the objectives of your survey is always the first things you do when you are preparing a survey questionnaire. Once you have your objectives, you also have to make sure that these are aligned with your research question. You must also take note of the dependent and independent factors you intend to investigate. For example, Look at this research question. What are the biggest distractions that prevent students in the senior high school from studying at home? You should begin with initial background research to get information on this topic, like what teachers and school administrations have said about homework and studying at home. Once you have done your research, identify the things that you can learn via survey, and these will be your objectives. To continue from the example, you can ask in the survey what students do at home that prevent them from studying and how much time they are able to spend actually studying during their time at home. If you are able to ask a high percentage of the student population in your school, that could yield a pattern that you can analyze. The independent factors here are the forms of distractions available to students, like smartphone or video games consoles, because this is what changes. The dependent variable is the amount of time the student spends studying, as this is what is affected by the distractions. The importance of establishing these pieces of information is to ensure that the research covers all relevant variables and any irrelevant variables are included. This will answer the commonly asked question like, did I miss any important question in the questionnaire, or should I exclude this particular question? Asking the right questions. Once you have established your questions, objectives, and factors, it is time for you to design the question in such a way that it is valid and reliable. The researchers have to brainstorm and come up with the preliminary questions. Structured or non-structured questions. Decide using your objectives and factors if you will be using structured questions. Non-structured questions are a combination of both. To refresh your memory, structured questions offer a set list of items, while non-structured questions are open-ended and allow respondents to write their own answers. The answers to open-ended questions should be grouped together for analysis. Thank you for listening.